All right, you guys, it is that time. Camping season is finally here. It's time to get those RVs out of storage. Wherever you have them, unwinterize them, get them ready to hit the road. But here's the thing. It is super important that there are some things that you go through. So we have created a pre-departure checklist for you guys. We're gonna have a link below where you can download the copy of this checklist for free, but it's super important because here's the deal. Failing to check some of these items could not only be a safety issue, but could also just lead to like really costly repairs if you forget some of these super important things. So let's jump right in. First things first, you want to check your tires. Now, there's a couple of things when it comes to checking tires that you want to make sure of. Number one, you want to make sure the tire condition looks good. So you're checking for things like any cracks on the sidewall of the tires, uneven wear on the tires, anything that you know is going to be a problem when you look at those tires. The second thing is you want to make sure that your tire pressures are set to where that they should be. Now that can vary depending upon maybe how much weight that you have in your RV and your RV type. So the other thing that we always use when it comes to tire pressures is a tire pressure monitoring system. And then we make sure that this is on, it's running, it's reading all of the tires correctly before we even pull out of the driveway. So number two on the list of things that you want to check are all of your lights. So make sure that your lights are in working order. Now this applies to any type of RV, drivable or towable, because if you are towing, you want to make sure that all of your lights are working when they're connected up to the vehicle you're towing with. If you're in a drivable, obviously you want to make sure that everything's working. So make sure, especially things like brake lights and turn signals are working and that they are visible to other drivers. Huge safety issue if your brake lights aren't working. All right, so next, on your pre-departure checklist, you want to make sure these bad boys, your mirrors, are all adjusted. Make sure that you can see what you need to see. Whether you have a drivable or a towable, being able to see what's going on behind you, being able to see before that you would make a lane change, make sure nobody's there. Super important. So double check, make sure they're adjusted, that there's no issues with them whatsoever before you take off. All right, so next on the list is, especially if you have a drivable RV, double check your wipers. Check your wipers on the vehicle that you're gonna be driving to. Now here's a little hack that we use to help keep our wiper blades in good shape, because our RV's obviously in the sun a lot. So taking a pool noodle, cutting it down the middle and putting it over your wiper blades when you're parked on a drivable RV can really help extend the life of those wiper blades. So next on the list is to remember to turn off your propane before that you head down the road. So pretty much most all RVs are equipped with propane. Before that you head down the road, you want to make sure that you turn that off. All right, so number 7 on the list is to double check and make sure you have everything that you're going to need when it comes to water. So number 1, you want to make sure that your water pump is in working order, because if you need to wash hands or whatever as you're traveling from one place to another, you're going to want to make sure that you use your water pump and that it's in working order. The next thing that you want to do is, if you are going to be boondocking or you're going to be overnighting somewhere with no hookups, make sure that you have a full tank of fresh water. And then lastly, when it comes to water, you want to make sure that you've got all of your freshwater hoses, that there's no leaks, and you've got your water pressure regulator ready to go in your RV. So when you get to your campsite, you've got everything that you need to do to get water to the RV. All right, so number 8 is you want to make sure that your waste tanks are empty. Now, this is actually something that you should do before that you leave that last campsite, but you want to make sure that those tanks are empty before that you head out to that next location. And then the next thing that you want to do too, this is super important. You want to make sure that those valves for the waste tanks are closed and that you have the caps on the end of the pipes for the waste tanks. You do not want to be going down the road, leaving a trail of something behind you because one of those valves was accidentally left open. Double check that before you depart. The next thing that you always want to do is you want to make sure all of your compartments are closed and secure. So one thing that we always do before we pull out and as part of our pre-departure checklist is we actually go through every single compartment. And on ours, we just give it a little bit of a nudge with a leg to make sure that it is secure and latched. We actually have had that more than once where we were driving down the road. Somebody flagged us down because our compartment was wide open. Thankfully, we didn't lose anything, but you don't want that to happen to you. So take an extra minute, make sure all of those external compartments are latched and secured. So the next thing that you want to double check before that you depart is the RV roof. Now, this is where we actually like having our roof with the RV roof because, well, we pretty much know that we're not going to have any damage, but typical RV roofs, it's really easy for them to get holes or snags. And so you want to inspect that before that you take off, just so that you don't have any water leaks if you run into a rainstorm. So the next thing is if your RV is equipped with a TV antenna, you want to make sure that that is down before you leave so that you don't have any sort of accident on that. All right, so the next thing that you want to check before you depart is anything to do with hitches. Now, this is going to pretty much apply to every RVer out there because if you're towing a travel trailer, you're towing a fifth wheel, well, you have to have a hitch. If you have a motorhome, maybe like ours with something drivable, chances are that you've got something on the hitch behind it. So you want to inspect all of those hitch components, make sure that there's no issues. If you've got a hitch that's frame mounted like ours or mounted to like your truck, you want to inspect that and make sure that you don't see any potential visual cracks or anything that could cause an issue going down the road. This is where an ounce of prevention is totally worth a pound of cure in potentially warding off any safety issues before a disaster could strike. All right, so the next thing that you want to do is make sure that you bring those awnings in. You definitely don't want to go down the road with your awning accidentally out. But here's the other thing too, is when you bring those awnings in, just make sure that they're secure. Do a quick double check because it is very easy, especially on the power awnings where you bring those in and maybe it didn't get latched 100%. It's really easy for some wind to catch that down the highway and cause a really big issue. So bring those awnings in and double check that they're secure before you pull out. Before we move on to the next things in our pre-departure checklist, we wanted to take a quick minute to let you know that we love partnering with businesses and brands that make great products for RVers. And so we were super excited that one of our great partners, RV Mattress by Brooklyn Bedding, is having a Memorial Day sale this month during the month of May with 30% off. But if you use our link, you can save an additional 5% for a total of 35% off. One thing we would not depart without is our upgraded mattress because as busy parents and travelers, we really need our sleep. And we realized fairly quickly that the standard mattresses included with RVs from the manufacturer were far from comfortable, so we looked for an upgrade pretty darn fast. We opted for the Aurora Luxe Hybrid mattress from rvmattress.com, which is also the sponsor of this video, because this upgrade has dramatically improved our rest and sleep quality. Additionally, we chose the Dream Foam Essential mattresses from the same company for our kids' beds, which they're also loving. rvmattress.com offers a broad selection of mattress sizes and dimensions to accommodate pretty much any RV bedding requirement, and their mattresses are conveniently packaged in compact, rolled boxes, which make getting it in and out of the RV a breeze, especially fitting through those narrow doors or hallways. All of their mattresses are shipped quickly and free from their Arizona factory. Another benefit of choosing rvmattress.com is its affiliation with Brooklyn Bedding, which provides an extensive range of bedding options for both home and RV use. And they offer a generous 10-year warranty on their mattresses and a 120-night sleep trial to just ensure that you're happy with your purchase. Don't forget that 35% off discount. The link is in the description below, or you can visit rvmattress.com/grateful. And a huge thank you to RV Mattress for sponsoring this video and their continued support of our channel. So number 15 on the list is really one of those things before you pull out of a campsite, and that is you want to make sure that you have disconnected your sewer hose and you've properly stored your sewer hose. A lot of different RVs have different ways where the sewer hose is stored, and so you want to make sure that that is secure. We've actually run across more than one sewer hoses lying on the highway because obviously they weren't properly stowed or secured. Make sure that that's not you. All right, so the next thing is you want to make sure that if you have levelers, those are up. And if you're using any sort of wheel chocks, that those are removed so that you don't have anything that is causing an issue before you pull out. So the next thing that you need to make sure that you check are things like your brakes and then your suspension, because we actually ended up doing one of our pre-trip inspections and we realized we had a shock mount that was completely off of the RV. It literally could have been a huge safety issue. If you have a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, checking things like your leaf springs and all of the suspension underneath, super important before you head out on the road. So the next thing is if your RV is a drivable RV, you want to make sure that you check your air filter or your air filter indicator if your vehicle is equipped with that. And if you don't have a drivable RV, it's a pretty good idea to check the air filter on the vehicle that you're towing your RV with as well. All right, next on the list is to make sure all of the windows in the RV are closed. Now, this is important because I can't tell you how many times that we actually forgot to do that. And then you go down a dusty road or something like that, and you end up with a very thin layer of dust or dirt all over everything in the side of the RV.
You are not on any marked road. Shut up!
Best bet, just keep those windows closed. You can turn on the air when you get to where you're going. Now, the next thing on the list when we're talking about securing things before the two depart are things like interior doors that need to be secured. So like for instance on this, we've got this door that needs to be secured with this latch. We also have another door that has another security mechanism here to keep this from going back and forth. Closet doors usually need to be secured. So all of those interior doors, making sure that those are secured before you take off. All right, next on the checklist is to make sure all of the roof vents are closed. Again, this is so that you don't get things like dust and dirt and even unwanted smells or whatever inside of the RV as you're traveling down the road. All right, next on the list is to make sure things like these cabinet doors are secured. The last thing that you want is all of this stuff falling out on a travel day. But here is another tip, because contents do shift during flight. These little jobbies can really be helpful. So these are just spring-loaded like bars, for lack of a better description. And these just go right in here like this to help keep some of these things secure. So when you do open this door, it's not an avalanche of stuff in your face. Or another option are these nets from our friends over at Organized OB, because that works too. Next on the pre-departure checklist, you want to make sure all of your appliances are in working order, making sure that your fridge and freezer are actually cool, especially before you load it up with a bunch of food. The other thing is to make sure all of your other appliances are in working order. So double check that hot water heater and make sure that you actually do have hot water.
Okay, so running into a little bit of an issue here. Whenever I turn on the water, the hot water, the Furion is not working. I get an error code of E5. And so it's not firing up.
There is nothing worse than getting to a campsite and realizing that one of your appliances isn't working the way that it should. And then now you've kind of ruined your camping trip with having to try to troubleshoot, or worse, incur an expense to call an RV tech in a remote area. Now, speaking of appliances, the next thing that you want to make sure is working, especially for summer camping, are your air conditioners. So turn those bad boys on, make sure that they're cooling down, and then make sure too that any filters that you have are clean and ready to go. We actually put in the AC silencer, which has an electrostatic filter, which makes cleaning those filters pretty stinking easy. Do yourself a favor, you want to stay cool this summer. Okay, on your pre-departure checklist, one thing that you want to make sure that you do have are your fire extinguishers. So got ours right here. We keep one under the sink. We actually also keep a couple in the basement compartments on the outside. This is a must on your pre-departure checklist for safety reasons.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. So I see the fireworks.
What happened? Like, did he, like, I mean,
They just said it caught on fire.
So they just spontaneously combusted?
Well, with somebody lit a cigarette or something. Wow, that's crazy.
People that were in there are okay, from what this other guy said. They got out of the car in time, but crazy night. It's like 10 o'clock at night. So the next item that you should be checking before that you depart is your electrical stuff. So you want to make sure that your electrical cord that comes from your RV to go to the campground pedestal is in good shape. Just give that a quick inspection. Make sure that you're not seeing any things like cracks or anything that would present a potential issue. The other thing is make sure that you have got some of your adapters with you. If you need to step your power down, say from a 50 to a 30 or something like that, you've got the adapters necessary, and make sure that you also have your surge protector with you. This is super uber important and you do not want to leave without it. Make sure that you've got it with you before that you head out. Now, speaking of electrical, part of the electrical system obviously are your batteries. So you want to inspect those, make sure that they're good, maybe even do a quick test, make sure that they have a full charge. If you do not have something like a lithium setup, make sure that you don't have any corrosion. We used to actually have batteries that needed water added.
I'm gonna just check these batteries, just open up the basement compartment, take a look at them, and I looked at the batteries and I'm like, oh my gosh. These are not maintenance-free batteries.
Nope.
They actually had the little handle that you pop off and you can pull the top open. Took a flashlight, looked down in the cell of the battery. It was completely dry. There was no battery acid, no water, nothing in there. So I know.
If that's your setup, make sure that you get that water added to them. And then if you have a drivable, make sure that you remember you've got two different sets of batteries. You've got a set of battery for the coach of the vehicle, and then you have a set of batteries for the chassis to start the engine. Make sure that you're checking both sets with a drivable. So the next thing that you want to make sure is that if you have an RV that is equipped with slides, run those things in and out and make sure that they are working properly. And then also make sure that these seals are in good condition too. What you don't want is to have any water leaks or things like that because these seals are not in good condition. Also, you don't want to have an issue where you get to the campground and maybe you've put that slide out and it doesn't want to come back in because there's something wrong. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm about ready to unscrew that.
I think ski's on.
It's on, look. Double check all of that before you leave. All right, so the next thing is if you have a drivable, make sure that you just do a quick visual inspection over your engine area, check all of your fluids, make sure that those are good. And if you don't have a drivable, well, you need to do the same thing on the vehicle that you're going to be towing your RV with as well. Just making sure that all of those fluids are full and you're ready to rock and roll. Now, the next thing on the pre-departure checklist is to make sure that your generator is working if it's equipped with one. If you have one that you bring with you, you also want to make sure that that works as well. And then here's a little tip. If you do have an onboard generator, you actually need to be running that every so often anyway. So if your RV is in a place where it's in storage or maybe even you're parked in a campsite long term, running that generator periodically is actually way better for it than leaving it dormant. So the next thing on your pre-departure checklist, we're getting closer to getting on the road, is plugging in your location to your GPS. Now, here's the deal. We actually use this Garmin RV specific GPS for lots of reasons. We can plug in the RV height, weight, width, keeps us on RV friendly roads. The other thing that we've learned too though, is that trying to use our phones or even like a trucker app on the phone can be somewhat distracting because if a text or a phone call or something like that comes in, then it can disrupt that whole, feed. So we prefer to have a GPS for GPS and a phone for a phone. So I will put a link for this one in the description below because we use this all of the time. And I'm getting ready to plug in our next destination right now. So after we've got that location plugged in and ready to go, the next thing on the checklist is to actually make sure that our Garmin dash cam is powered up and ready to go as well. Now, here's the deal. We actually started traveling with a dash cam because you would be surprised how many crazy people are out there. But especially in an RV, we really want to protect ourselves from any potential accidents. So using a dash cam like this not only gives us that peace of mind, but sometimes we just find like some funny flipping stuff that happens out there. So the next thing, getting closer again on that pre-departure checklist, is to make sure that the steps are up. We actually had a time where we're getting ready to pull out of a campground and somebody had their steps down. We had to flag them down and let them know those were not up. And then of course, door shut. Make sure that that is closed as well. Now, the next thing that you want to do is you want to just do a quick circle around, walk around, and double check everything that you've already checked. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, actually. Like, you know what? Actually, no, like
Yeah,
maybe.
you can do it. You got it.
There's no rain in the forecast. I just would like to point that out. RVs have different ways where the there was no rain in the forecast.
Face your fears.
It's not a fear, it's uncomfortable. If you felt like this video was helpful in knowing some of the things to check, and you'd like to know what to pack, you can get that right up here.